It's Friday, September 17. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Jamaica's total spending on imports and earnings from exports increased during January to May 2021 relative to the similar period in 2020. That's the report from the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin. Statin's report states that the top 5 destinations for Jamaican exports during the review period were the United States of America, Canada, United Kingdom, Puerto Rico, and the Netherlands. Cumulative shipments to these countries increased by 34.4% to US $491.8 million relative to 2020. This was largely attributed to increased exportation of alumina to the Netherlands. Meanwhile, imports for the period rose by 12% to $2.25 billion. On Thursday, the Health and Wellness Ministry held a virtual launch for its Physical Activity Page and Workplace Wellness Manual. Portfolio Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton and State Minister Juliet Cuthbert-Flynn were in attendance.
One of the silent killers of the modern age is a sedentary lifestyle. Whether long hours sitting at a desk or lounging on a couch in front of the television, the result is the same. This lack of physical activity can lead to the development of lifestyle diseases such as obesity, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. Speaking at the launch, advice on non-communicable diseases and mental health to the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Michelle Harris cited some troubling statistics.
The Jamaica Health and Lifestyle Survey that was conducted in 2017 reported that 82% of the Jamaican population had low levels of physical activity. 16% engaged in moderate levels of physical activity, and just 2% were engaged in what we could refer to as high levels of physical activity, whereas 1 in 2 persons, that is 54% of the population, were considered to be overweight or obese.
Director of Health Promotion and Education in the Ministry, Takis Foga, explained the goal of the Physical Activity Page and Workplace Wellness Manual.
So what is the goal of workplace wellness? The goal is to create an environment that supports healthy lifestyle practices. Why would we invest in our workplace wellness? Well, for the employer, you're looking at reduced absenteeism, we're looking at reduced healthcare costs, we're looking at higher staff morale, we're looking at the way in which we can recruit more employees and retain them. In terms of the employees now, we're talking about improved health, greater job satisfaction, and of course, learning more about healthy lifestyle. In terms of an overall program, there are just a few things I want us to understand how we can get things going. To get started, you must have buy-in from management. You then establish a committee, and then you do various types of assessments, because ultimately you want employees' interests and their needs to be met.
Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton welcomed the Corporate Wellness Manual.
Life challenges us in all aspects, and we, if we're not careful, get so caught up in doing what we think is expected of us, or what is expected of us in terms of work, commitments of one form or another, that we forget to take care of ourselves, and we measure success based on those achievements rather than our state of mind or physical state. And oftentimes we meet our demise achieving other levels of success, but ignoring ourselves. So the wellness agenda and the physical activity agenda, as you have said and others, is essential to allowing us to live a wholesome life.
For the news on PBCJ, I'm Carol Francis.
Minister of Education, Youth and Information, Favour Williams, says efforts are being made to identify all children who are of school age. She says the ministry will continue its community intervention program, seeking to identify those children and get them educated. The program was initiated in 2020.
And in that initiative, we sent out teachers and guidance counselors into communities to reach students and engage with them in small groups of 5 for 1.5 hours, 3 days per week. And we will continue that this year again as soon as we are able to. To support the mobile intervention in communities, this year, for this school year, we will train and deploy intervention officers to work with schools to go yard to yard, door to door in every community to identify those students who have not been able to reach, to document their circumstances in order to assist parents, the schools, and the ministry to intervene so the child can have that chance that all children in Jamaica must have, that is, to be educated.
Minister Williams says her team continues to work towards bridging the digital divide in the education system. She says to date, 125,000 tablets and laptops have been distributed to teachers and students.
We recognize that to meet current and future demands, the approach to the provision of internet in schools must be revolutionized. To ensure equity and inclusion, special attention must be given to students in remote areas with limited access to the internet. We have partnered with the Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation to develop an affordable and robust approach to the provisioning of adequate internet connectivity to all public schools. We have started the onboarding of 360 schools that are located in close proximity to the government's fiber infrastructure. This process is expected to be completed by the end of September 2021. For the remaining 661 schools that are not in close proximity to the government's fiber infrastructure, we're far advanced with a national procurement of internet supply for our schools. Additionally, we are completing the survey and are advanced in the plan to upgrade the networking capability of our schools so that there's Wi-Fi access in all classrooms to enable teachers to manage a blended environment in which some students will be in the remote or virtual environment while others are in the physical classroom on a rotational basis. Madam Speaker, for those students without internet connectivity, the ministry has launched 2 new TV channels through its e-homeschool network.
The Education Minister was speaking in Parliament on Wednesday. Managing Director of the Development Bank of Jamaica, DBJ, Milverton Reynolds, says the COVID-19 pandemic opened up a new world of opportunities and we must adapt. He says the DBJ has been doing its part to assist businesses to remain sustainable. He shared how his team has been doing that in a virtual launch of the DBJ's Social and Economy Recovery and Vaccine Program. DBJ's Managing Director, Milverton Reynolds, says entrepreneurs must adapt to new ways of doing business in the digital space. He says his team is providing assistance under the Social and Economic Recovery and Vaccine Program, dubbed the SERVE program, to enable the business sector to remain vibrant and sustainable. The DBJ boss is calling on other lending institutions to play their part.
I'm calling on the lenders, the financial institutions, to link with the DBJ in delivering the SERVE loans that are needed for investment, retooling, and providing working capital. And we are pleased to announce at this launch that several financiers have already made commitments to participate in the DBJ SERVE program. Indeed, as of now, we have commitments of over $700 million from these institutions, and they include Wilco Finance, First Heritage Cooperative Credit Union, Bull Investments, Lasco Financial, National Commercial Bank, JMMB, Sagicor Bank Limited, and First Global Bank. I will go further to tell you that 3 of these institutions, Wilco Finance, Bull Investments, and First Heritage Cooperative Credit Union, have applied for and have already received their first disbursements.
He is also appealing to the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs, to join the DBJ's SERVE program. Mr. Reynolds is of the view that businesses should move to digitize their services.
Take the Go Digital grant. It will allow you to take your business online through e-commerce, web marketing, installing online payroll systems, e-payments, video conferencing, and many, many more services, which will make the difference between thriving and dying. Take the Go Digital loan to acquire computers, software, and other goods to advance your business operations. And take the recovery loan, use it for working capital, new capital expenditure projects, debt consolidation, refinancing high interest business loans, clearing up of your overdrafts, and indeed, you can use it to finance your credit card debt that you use to put in the business. That can be refinanced also under this facility.
He says this type of financial aid will help to rebuild the MSME sector. He says suppliers of goods and services should also adapt to the new digital reality.
And give it the means by which it can withstand the shocks of the pandemic. Secondly, we are calling on the suppliers of goods and services in the technology field to prepare themselves to meet the demand which we expect will come from business operators beginning right after this launch as they seek the tools to go digital.
The DBJ boss says the funds under the SERVE program will only be available short term.
The agreement we have with the Ministry of Finance is that these funds have to be committed by March 2022.
The program will provide $3 billion to support micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises through the COVID-19 pandemic. The Independent Commission of Investigations, INDICOM, is currently investigating the cutting of a Rastafarian woman's locks in Clarendon. This was disclosed by Police Commissioner Anthony Anderson at a press conference on Wednesday, September 16, 2021. He spoke of TikTok videos also being done by police officers.
We have seen a number of TikTok videos that JCF members have appeared in. This was of some concern to us because when we listen to the lyrics of the song being played in the background of the video, it wasn't consistent with what we expect or what anyone would expect from our police officers. We also saw that in the videos, the police officers had weapons on them at that point, and really that is certainly not the image that we would expect of our officers. We have published in our force orders how we will deal with this going forward. The persons involved are facing disciplinary charges at the moment, and the persons involved, if they are going to remain in the organization, will be placed in remedial training so that they are aligned in their mindset with what are the best values of the JCF and consistent with what the country expects of us.
Chief Justice Brian Sykes says a family and probate division have been established as part of the Supreme Court. Justice Sykes says the division will aim to clear up matters of divorce, division of property, and child custody and maintenance expeditiously. Following the announcement, he explained to the media that cases were being set for 2027 and 2028, which goes against the time standard of 24 months to settle a case. Condolences are pouring in following the death of former president of the Nurses Association of Jamaica, NAJ, and trade unionist Edith Allwood-Anderson. Mrs. Allwood-Anderson passed away on Thursday after a long battle with illness. Allwood-Anderson, who served as president of the NAJ for a record 8 years, passed away at the Kingston Public Hospital. She was 66 years old. She is remembered as one of Jamaica's foremost nursing advocates. Local software developers Codewhare takes center stage in this extended edition of the Business Report. Also, Gabriel Thompson brings us up to speed with the latest market updates.
In foreign exchange trading for Thursday, September 16, the US dollar sold for an average $149.13. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $118.28. The pound sterling traded for $206.72, and the euro sold for an average $177.34. In Thursday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index declined by 621 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 95 stocks, of which 39 advanced, 35 declined, and 21 traded firm. The junior market index declined by 20 points to close at over 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Variable Preference, 1834 Investments Limited, and Caribbean Cement Company Limited. Trading firm were 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Access Financial Services Limited, and Siboney Group Limited. First Rock Capital Holdings Limited USD was the volume leader with over 4.7 million units, followed by Barita Investments Limited with over 2.7 million units, and Sagicor Select Funds Limited Manufacturing and Distribution with over 1.5 million units. On September 3, 2020, just about 36% of Jamaicans turned up at the polls to elect the next government. But exercising their franchise looked a bit different this time around thanks to the coronavirus pandemic. But with COVID protocols in place, the election was held. Sanitization stations, temperature checks, and social distancing. Instead of the usual social gatherings to await election results, Jamaicans were forced inside, and those social gatherings took place online. But one group of Jamaican coders and software developers called Codewhare, they had a solution. The group created an interactive map of Jamaica complete with its constituencies and party members vying for seats with live results. In February, PBCJ spoke to Codewhare member Nicholas Key to find out more.
Codewhare is essentially a name that we more or less came up with. So code really embodies everything that we do. We produce a lot of products, software products and services made via code. And where is just another word for house or hut. And when you put two of them together, it just makes sense. Yeah, it's a group of 7 of us. We all come from very technical backgrounds. Some of us have various particular skills. We have people focused on product, those focused on design, those focused on, front-end and back-end development, and those focused on the general vision of whatever products and services we come up with. So it really more or less started out as a group of friends who wanted to build things and refine their skills and to keep up to date with a lot of the technologies and tools available. So when we started, we essentially just did a few open source projects together, and then when the election happened, that's when we really made the big bust.
The big bust he's talking about is Jamaica Decides, an interactive map of the island divided into constituencies, providing the name and party affiliation of persons vying for seats to form the next government. The site also reflected in real time the number of votes each candidate received.
Jamaica Decides, it was really a product that was stemmed from just our understanding of the lack of inefficiencies in our current society and the lack of engagement and apathy towards politics generally. And so it was bred out of us wanting to see what was going on minute by minute, hour by hour throughout the entire election.
Jamaica Decides was a trending topic on social media giant Twitter on election night. That took the group by surprise.
We were trying to manage the servers. We didn't necessarily anticipate the high influx of just people and users interacting with the site. Not at that scale, but we're more or less prepared. We were just extremely surprised at the end of the day.
Since then, Codewhare created a bot that tallies the clinical summary of coronavirus data from the Health and Wellness Ministry.
I would say Jamaica Decides was probably the inflection point for us understanding what virality means within the context of product development. And so leaving Jamaica Decides as a product, we moved on to something else that was of utmost importance as well, which was a COVID jam bot for Twitter, because we recognized that before the minister and the Ministry of Health by and large, they had been doing just updates generally every day, and then that essentially had been translated to just having people go directly to the website. But we recognized that the website was broken and the data was not entirely all that accessible. So what we decided to do was to create this bot that would essentially just automate all of the updates. So every time the website, at least from the back end of the ministry's website, would make an update, then the bot itself would get a ping and it would post automatically.
There must be a work from home arrangement in the public sector.
As the impact of the coronavirus pandemic in Jamaica worsened, the government implemented work-from-home measures for members of the public sector and urged the private sector to do the same where possible. Codewhare security specialist Ajay Masters says the pandemic has also had an impact on the technology sector.
Definitely, I can say, even though during this time, COVID has brought so much despair among us, it has also put us in a position to kind of speed up our progress, in digitizing almost everything. Everyone is working not everyone, but most persons are working from home now. Without COVID, probably will be going into offices every day.
For the full interview, please visit PBCJ's YouTube page at pbcjamaica. That's it for this extended edition of the Business Report inside the news on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. Pleasant viewing.
In news further afield, Bahamians elected a new government on Thursday at the polls. According to unofficial preliminary results, the Progressive Liberal Party trounced the incumbent Free National Movement by 32-7. Philip Braid Davis will be the next Prime Minister of the Bahamas.
We'll work so that opportunities reach out to every home, because we believe in the dignity of every member of our Bahamian family. To those who voted PLP today, I promise to work hard to justify your faith in us. For those of you who voted for a different party today, I pledge so it had to overcome your doubts.
In a concession speech released by the FNM, outgoing Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis has thanked Bahamians for the last 4 years. In Antigua and Barbuda, Prime Minister Gaston Brown is doubling down on his government's vaccine mandates, saying this will ensure the country's early and strong recovery. The head of government also called it a magnanimous decision designed to protect the entire population and to ensure a safe working environment for citizens and residents.
Prime Minister Honorable Gaston Brown resolute on the vaccine mandates introduced by his cabinet.
We have a large cadre of people who are literally defiant. As far as they're concerned, they are not getting vaccinated. Some of them are politically motivated. And if those people are putting the country at risk, which they are, we have no choice but to introduce mandates. And I also want to signal here too that the mandates will not stop at what we agreed to yesterday. Because if we do not achieve herd immunity within, let's say, the next few months, then new mandates or additional mandates will be introduced.
The Cabinet's actions come in the wake of rising infections, hospitalizations, and deaths from COVID-19. Prime Minister Brown says this is the time for decisive action in the face of an existential threat.
The Cabinet took a most magnanimous position to act in the best interests of the people of Antigua and Barbuda, to put the public good ahead of political self-preservation, and at the same time to act courageously, to act with strength and resilience.
Anticipating there will be pushback in some quarters, Prime Minister Brown urged his colleagues to have a steely resolve.
There are some who will challenge the mandates, and we must be strong enough to stand by those mandates and at the same time be resilient in order to recover from any missteps.
Meanwhile, in a retort to those who may argue vaccine mandates will imperil their jobs, the Prime Minister urges citizens to think of the alternative if the government did not act.
Having an unsafe environment will result in a reduction in tourism revenues, and you will be forced out of your job because the government will not be able to pay you. The private sector entities that you work for will not be able to pay you. So take your pick. Get vaccinated and save your jobs. Or if you wish to be irresponsible, then clearly you're putting your job at risk. You're putting lives and livelihoods at risk, and you're possibly putting your own life at risk.
He says the aim is to achieve herd immunity by the end of 2021 and says this must be the rallying call for all in the country. He describes what residents can look forward to when the country achieves herd immunity.
In sports, the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport is putting together scholarship packages for young athletes who have applied and been accepted to university.
The first one that we have confirmed so far is Jahil Hyde. And it's being done in partnership with the University of the West Indies. Okay.
And that's our package. On behalf of our hard-working production team, we say thanks for making it PBCJ, the People's Station.